Good evening, everyone. This is What's Your IQ with Nancy Barbie. Let's talk about your impact quotient. And I've got a great friend today as my guest. His name is Alvin Toh. Alvin is a professional dancer. He's a chef, but he's also a ghostwriter. And Alvin is from Singapore. Alvin Toh, welcome to What's Your IQ.
Thanks for having me, Nan.
So glad to have you on here. Let's talk about gaming. We were talking the other day, Alvin, about gaming, and you have been in gaming for quite a number of years. How in the world did you get started in gaming, and why is it so important to you?
Yes, thank you for having me, Nan. Good to be here. So, how I got started in gaming was, um, as many kids would be in the same place. You started off as a form of entertainment. It is something that your parents, um, a game that parents bought for you, or something that you grew up doing it with other kids. And for me, it was really immersive and enjoyable to be immersed in a game environment and to create, to explore, and to uh, find out things about the imaginary world and to build on that that is so different from the real world. So that's how a lot of us started.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Is my sons were in gaming too. They really enjoyed it, and they really got a lot out of it. I even played a little bit of games myself, Zelda and some of
Mhm.
those. But what they really were interested in was Pokemon. Do you know anything about, did you do Pokemon, play Pokemon or anything?
Yes, of course. That is actually the first game that I started off with. Started off with trading card games, and then moved on to the digital version. We have the Game Boy back in the days. I own a Game Boy Color, so that was my first Pokemon game.
Yeah.
And funny you say that because Pokemon Company just celebrate its 30th anniversary over the weekend. So it's it's been history and I've been part of it. It's so wonderful to see game franchise surviving that long and integrating it into different generation of gamers, and it's just wonderful to see.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's really interesting. That's amazing that Pokemon and other games have been around a very long time. And a lot of people, especially parents and a lot of people say, "Oh, gaming is not good for kids. It's not good for them to be so involved in that." But you know, what do you think about that? Is it something that needs to be adapted or watched out for, or you know, does it cause
I
bad things?
Yes, I've been part of that journey myself. I definitely use gaming as a way to escape and to, avoid certain responsibility in life just because um, the games that people create and the games we play is often so much more beautiful and imaginary and easy to be in than to actually deal with the tedium of society and life. So definitely that part of it is prevalent in a lot of uh, you know in use in certain parts of community. So gaming can be used as a way to do all that, and there are certain aspect of games that is obviously designed to keep people in that loop. That's how it gets so immersive, and that's how they get you to spend more money or to play more. So that part of design is obviously part of games, um, and being part of that history myself, and I believe I've now come to acknowledge that and worked on that and come out of it. I can say that it's not a necessarily bad or good thing. It's just how I guess we understand more and more of ourselves and how science and how society have come to accept certain parts of what gaming can do or what it cannot what it cannot be used 100% to do as well. So have you heard of someone called Jacob Collier?
Um, that name sounds familiar. Tell me,
Hmm.
tell me about
So
what. Yeah.
Jacob Collier over the last 6 years he created something called the Audience Choir, in which he goes around the world and he conducts a whole audience in a concert hall, in a park setting, in a lot of big arena kind of setting, and he creates this musical context for people, and everyone knows where the music is moving at any one time, and they all move as a body. So he's on stage conducting and orchestrating the notes and the keys, and he usually have a whole orchestra behind him to do that. And people from the age of like 9 or 5 to age of like 95 be able to sing together and know where everyone is going and to do that. And his concept is that his inspiration is that the creative adult is the child who survives.
Huh. That's
And he thinks that as a society, if we get to be comfortable with not knowing what happened next, and children are the best kind of subject for this kind of thing. So the idea of play is something that he wants to encourage more in society, in our community, that everyone can come together, understand each other, and to just play around with each other.
wow.
And yes.
That's a great concept. You know,
And yeah,
because the age barrier is not there, or the gender
correct.
barrier is not there, and a lot of barriers are knocked down because of that. Because everybody can be involved regardless of what age they are. So
That's
gaming,
right. Going back to
game,
the question you were saying just now, that what about the concept of play that is in education? Some people say, you shouldn't play too much, but for people like Jacob, and he's saying that the idea of play that we so often talk down to in education, like, oh, it's just play, oh, it's just that, but let's move on to the more serious or adult or mature stuff. Is that what if we flip that model that we are operating in, and what if play is the whole point of life? Yeah.
that's not a bad concept. I don't think. I don't think that's a real bad concept because, I mean, it can include so many different things. And you just talked about community. So in gaming, I would think that you can develop or have a community of people that are like-minded and have the same mindset. But my sons used to say to me, "Oh," because I would always say, as a parent does, "Oh, you're playing too many games. You're on the computer too much," and they'd say, "But we're learning about solving problems. We're learning about, you know, how to live in the real world." And do you think that's true?
100%. I feel that games teaches us a lot about ourselves, about, yes, problem solving, about resilience as well. There are games that they don't explain much to you about the rules. Like back in the early games, early times, you think about games like Mario. You keep dying. You know that if you jump too high, you hit something. You know that if you don't jump and you run into a hole, that's how you die. And the game restarts. It's brutally like forcing you to learn things, to accept that you're going to die over and over again. And what do you do about it? Do you quit the game? Do you get better at it? Do you find out answers? How do you find out answers? So resilience, it boosts confidence for you when you figure out something that no one else has. You share it with your friends, so it builds community as well. That is back in the days where the online community is a bit lesser, but now again with bigger online communities and more concentrated group of people who comes together for certain group of games, you get people who are more close with their online community than with their real friends and family. So think about that.
Sure.
Like, and that's something that a lot of youths actually depend on for, uh, for their own confidence and for their way of understanding life. It's like, hey, I feel belonging in this community more so than, what real people actually do for me. So perhaps that's a conversation in of it all to itself of how we get to that stage. But it's definitely things are there that games allow people to belong, to come together.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I never
Yeah.
really thought about it that way because when I was coming along and when they were coming along, there wasn't so much of the online near the end of their teenage years and early 20 years. There did become that way of connecting with other people,
Mm,
from other cultures, other people around the world. So that did
yeah.
make a difference to them because then they became friends with those people and they could talk offline about the different games, the different cultures, the different how do you see things versus how I see things. That's a good. I think that's a good way to look at it. So,
It's also, I believe, is a different way of approaching conversations about approaching a social dynamics. Um, like, for example, if you visit like, oftentimes we think that, it's the introduction first. I know what you do, what you work, and, what you're interested in. And then we then start to play together, and then we start to understand each other, and then we decide where to go from there. So there is certain rules I believe sometimes we set for ourselves, like has to happen first in order before we can go deep into authentic personal kind of interactions. But when it comes to games, and a lot of times true, and if we see kids how they just know each other and play together, you often don't need much of that
mm,
construct.
mm,
And we can all be friendly and kind and to understand each other straight away in a different context than to say, nowadays we are like, okay, who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Right?
that's right. That's right. Oh,
Mm,
that's a good point too. But kids can be so engaged in hours. I mean, for hours on end, they could be so engaged in a game, and we have trouble as educators or as um, nonprofit leaders or entrepreneurs to keep that momentum going. How would you think that they could, what lessons can those type of people learn from game design and how to
yeah.
sustain that attention and motivation and momentum? Because kids can stick to that a long time, but they have trouble doing, how can we cross the
Yeah.
barrier for that?
Yeah, great question. I feel like it's more often easily said than done. But what I found worked for me over the years is that, going back to the line where Jacob Collier was saying that the creative adult is the child who survives.
Mm,
So
mm,
I would encourage more, I would love for more and more people to accept that play could be a different model to live life, to live your life. And I think the first thing to start is to actually go deep within your own psyche and to just check out what you believe in and what you're seeing without any judgment, and play around with it. So you might be interested in the seriously weird stuff, and you might also believe in some deep and beautiful stuff. So how do you integrate those together? And then once you understand more of yourself, once you then start to see what people are doing, and you see different part of life that is different, wonderful, and hopefully then you then accept that it is okay to play, it is okay to not know what comes next, but whatever comes next, I can engage with it and continue to just build on that and to navigate around that. So that sense of that, it takes some sort of bravery, some sort of acknowledgement that you sometimes don't know or can't prepare for things you don't know, and you just have to deal with it. You just have to trust yourself and to you know to believe in that life is certain way for you to then approach that way. So I think as more people start to do that, then perhaps yeah, then the situation that you described where more people are allowed to play or more people are willing to play can shift that way when everyone starts to believe in that something.
Yeah, games sort of, because you do fail. I mean, I do fail
Mm,
a lot of times when I'm playing a game, and I don't do it as much as I used to, but I watch my granddaughter now and her fiance, they play games a lot. And you do fail sometimes, and it sort of normalizes failure in a way. Um, but how do we bridge that gap too? I mean, we always say, oh, we don't, everybody's afraid of failing. Everybody's afraid of failing in real life. How can you take that failure in a game that
mm-hmm.
normalizes failure there and put it in your own context in your real life? How
Mm.
can somebody do that, or can they do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I believe everyone can do that. But how to do that, I guess it's quite nuanced. It's a nuanced approach to everyone. Um, Personally, I think it's helpful to be brave and to be kind and gentle to yourself first. That
Hmm.
it is okay to fail. It's not the end of the world to fail a test. You just you just pick it up and do better the next test.
Yeah.
And regardless of who is telling you that that you're dumb and stupid kind of thing, it might not be true. Yes, you're just learning, and to just know that you can change, you can learn. You're worthy and capable to do so, and to start from there.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, normalizing failure is really quite more like self work, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's more self-help and something that people really need to focus on, that it's okay. It's okay.
Mm,
You fail,
yeah,
start over again, start again. Push restart. Push push
that's
the start
right.
button. Push
There's
the
always
start
a
button.
restart button.
That's about
Yeah,
it. Start over again. I think that's a great way to look at it.
yeah.
So you were
And
talking.
it's funny. I'll finish up on this point. Like I feel like most like nowadays we think of restarting as catastrophic or in a survival sense, but it's not necessarily true that you aren't going to die, you're not going to starve. We have so much ways to survive and to live to work through stuff, and there's so much options as well that sometimes we get caught up in the narratives of and or the rules and structure of what is presented to us that actually if you change your perspective or something, if you play around, you might discover that it's meant to be that way or something beautiful might come out from that, but you just have to step a steps back to kind of see certain things. So nothing I believe is as catastrophic as you know not being able to restart or not being able to not being able to like play and to decide
Mhm.
like there can be a better path. Well, not bad. Better is subjective, of course, but like there are different options that it's also valid and it's a good choice in the overall view of it.
Yeah, I agree with
Mm,
that. I agree with that. It's take a step back, take a look at what happened,
mm.
solve it or not solve it, leave it behind and try something different. I think that's a good
Yeah,
philosophy to have. Good luck.
try
Yeah,
something different. Try something new for yourself.
that's exactly right. Well, you were talking about the other day, we were talking about something that is happening in Singapore in March. Not too many weeks away now. It's called Idea Fest. Tell me,
Yeah.
what in the world is Idea Fest? I think that's very intriguing. What is that?
So Idea Fest is created by a group of people in Singapore. They are they are challenging the concept that Singaporeans are boring. Singaporeans have no bigger dreams. Just because of how our system is optimized for efficiency, sometimes you see ideas being validated heavily before it goes out to market, or more and more people are afraid to champion their own ideas and to just just create and just build on what they want to do because of the fear of failure or the fear of not of it not being good enough. So Idea Fest is event that's happening on the 21st of March. They are trying to encourage a space where people with messy ideas, with like day zero prototypes can come and share and find community and build together the things that they want to do.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Now you're a part of that too, aren't you? Tell me what part are you taking in that? What idea are you pitching?
Yes, I'm part of Idea Fest. My role in Idea Fest is to create a game area, and I'm calling it Dev and Draft. And it also builds on the concept of Idea Fest, where I'm creating a space for game creatives to come and be brave about their drafts and prototypes and to seek out community.
Oh, you mean actually develop a game?
Yes. Um, I am targeting, starting out students in game development courses and studios in Singapore who is actually developing games, but it's too early stages to try to show it and to get publishers. So I'm reaching out to people and saying like, no, screw that. Why not just show it? Why not just get more earlier feedback, and to also help out people who are in the same boat as you, years before, and to also make contacts that way. So I'm trying to create a I'm trying to create a space for more experimental works
Wow.
than games used to be.
Wow. So are most of these people that are pitching their game ideas, were most of the have they been gamers for a long time? Most of them?
I believe most people play games, but this might be the stage where some of them believe that I have always wanted to make a game. So, having been through several options in life, I want to give it a go at that. And there are also a group of people who have always been making games all their life, and this is just another platform for them to meet new people and to also, uh, you know, create something entirely different, or yeah, entirely different, and to
Oh,
share. So different group of people with different experiences.
that's really cool. Are you developing a game, Alvin?
I was developing a game last year, but now I'm focusing on different parts of the game industry.
Okay. So I don't even know how to go about developing a game or what it takes.
Mm,
Does it take coding or
yeah.
what does it take to develop a game?
Yes, you definitely need a bit of coding experience, programming. It helps if you know how to compose your own music or to write a narrative. And putting it all together, you probably need to know how to submit your game, to upload it onto Steam, the game system that people buy games most commonly nowadays, things like that. So you need a bit of techie kind of
Yeah.
knowledge. Yeah.
I was afraid you were going to say that. I was afraid you're going to say, but I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense with people that are in the gaming industry.
Yes,
Obviously,
but for sure, it's
yeah,
easier. It becomes more and more easy to create a game nowadays. So
yeah,
you can actually ask AI to code you a game
that's great.
just by using natural language. You can just say, code me a game. It has this aesthetic. It is a story about, and give it some prompts,
Yeah.
and you get a pretty good, viable viable concepts just from typing a few words,
Mm.
and then you can develop it further, or you can bring it to someone else and say, hey, let's work on this idea together. So there's so much ways to quickly start that process. Yes, for if you want to create a game today.
So a lot of games now, I guess, and also in the past, were a lot of shoot 'em, bang bang, shoot 'em dead, and fighting, those fighting games. I used to love that. There was one that it was not called Kung Fu Fighting, but that's what it was. And it was
Kung Fu fighting.
yeah, it was, and do you see games going still in that direction, or are they moving in a more softer tone or a more
Mm.
cartoony tone? What kind of games do you foresee in the near future or now? Are they what's happening?
So with I'll touch on the fighting games. There is a huge community and market for that kind of games. First player shooters like, Call of Duty, or fighting games like Tekken or Street Fighter. Uh, they get released every couple of years, and there is a whole economy and community for that. Like, it's called esports, where you compete with other players all around the world, and it's
Wow.
highly televised, and the champion wins quite a bit of money. Have you heard of Dota, Defense of the Ancients?
I don't think I've heard of that. Is that tell me about that.
That's also another highly televised game. They have since walked back on the top prices, so it's not as lucrative anymore. But back in the days, there will be people like kids as young as like maybe 12 or 13 years old. They will compete in teams of 5 versus 5, to win like a prize pool of like 10 million, 15 million, and of the sorts. So
Oh,
imagine kids being millionaires overnight, just like that.
by playing a game. Wow.
Correct, just by
Or
being good at the game.
yeah, being
So
good at it. Wow.
yeah, esports is a big market, and I think it's interesting of how games have so much impact. Games bring so much, brings generate revenue, and to to the industry. And there is also like a different side to it as well. For if to being in esports and the community that comes with it, but that is just how the game is structured to do, and the community it promotes. But talking about a different side of gaming, more and more more and more players are preferring games that has a softer tone, like you said. There is a whole new genre called cozy games, COSY, where the aesthetics is a little bit more cutesy, and it has a different way of play. So it's no longer fast play. Like the loops is not high actions, or you need to be pressure for time and deliverabilities. It's more slow pace, like designing your own cafe. Have you heard of Sims?
I
Something like
have.
Sims.
I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Something like Sims, Animal Crossing, and more and more independent game developers also have their own have gone into the cozy games genre, where they create a bit more slow pace and more aesthetic pleasing kind of
Mm.
games. And which is also the reason why I believe the average the average gamers now has included more female players, more so than the male players that we see back in the early 90s, late 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah.
Like, there are
So
more female gamers playing now.
yeah, I think so too. Well, it's interesting that you say that because if you think about it, or maybe I'm totally wrong, but if you think about it, just about every avenue points towards games. I mean,
Hmm.
even I don't know, maybe I'm off base, but even like if you're a real estate person, you have designs that show you the inside of a house. Where do you put your furniture? Where do you put? It's not really a game, but at the same time, it's on that same sort of concept that
Correct, like
be,
application
yeah,
for
application,
all games.
be
Yeah.
creative and be, create things. I think that's very interesting how, because you are talking about, when I'm being an educator, I think about problem solving, I think about team building, I think about,
Mhm.
um, you know, you
Yes.
creating something, being creative, and I think gaming needs to be looked at totally different than it used to be a long time ago. A long time ago, people thought it was, oh, all violence and can cause things, but I think it needs to be looked at differently. What do you think?
No, yeah, 100%. I think as we move into an era where most people now prioritize mental health, they want a balance in the chaos and the structured, and their personal life. I think more people crave, connection, crave authenticity. So we see more corporate bodies and government bodies leaning more into designing for that kind of experience.
Hmm.
So think of in Singapore, we have a big market for this where they gamify experiences. So, like the transport company would commission an app that kind of gamify how you log in, how you get points, how you book a transport, something like that. And and who is doing all this? People who know how to understand how game works and how to apply that into daily functions and lives. So there is more and more of that we are seeing. And also people actually like that one, that so it has a proof of demand, and so those kind of projects are quite lucrative and quite heavily funded if you can get into opportunities like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you got me interested. I want to compete in one of these game things. Of course, I think I'm it'd probably take me a lot of years to come up to the level of competing like that, but that would
Oh
be,
yes, let me
yeah.
introduce a few titles for you.
I
It'll be
think
fun.
I think it
Yeah.
would be I think it would be fun. Well, tell me, go back to Idea Fest now. Is March
Mhm.
21st in Singapore.
That's right.
How can people get involved? I mean, do you have to register for that? How do you get to do you how do you can you go as a participant, or, well, I know participant, but can you go as someone in the audience?
Yes, 100%. So it is a festival. We call it a festival, but it's a whole day event. It's from somewhere in the afternoon, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. in at night.
Wow.
It's uh, it's at a AI startup incubator lab, but it's actually pretty much like a co-working space for tech people to come together. They have conference rooms, they have an event space, they have music hall and lounge. So we got the whole space to ourselves for the day. And what's happening on that day is there will be an area where we showcase people that's currently in the program. Some people signed up to be in the program, so a space for them to pitch their ideas. We
Okay.
have booths over there, and away from that, a little bit further away from that, will be the game area that I'm curating. There will be showcasing of games, monitors, and I have a section for board games as well.
Oh,
Yes, and throughout the day we'll insert in programs. There is a music jam where we are inviting people who are interested in making music but have no musical background to come together to learn how to put something together on the fly. We have someone teaching them how to do that, and there is going to be a stage where people can pitch their ideas and to
wow.
kind of get people to support them, right? And alongside of that, we're also running a ideation session where people can come into the room to group up and to kind of form ideas or to run something.
Hmm.
So it's pretty much very open to anyone coming in at any time of the day. but we also want to attract some people who are interested in those programs to come specifically for those time slots. So it's exciting it's exciting group of bunch of like activities going on at the place
That does
on the day.
sound, that sounds fabulous. I mean, that sounds wonderful. I wish I were in Singapore. I guess none of this is virtual, is it?
Not at this point, but perhaps in the next few iteration there could be maybe seminars or sessions or panel talks that we can stream those online. And I think these are some ideas I'm thinking as well. But who knows? Who knows? Yeah.
That's right. So this is the first, and it
This
sounds
is the
like,
first
yeah, it sounds like it's fascinating. I wish I were there. And it's on March the 21st,
March the 21st. That's
March
right.
the 21st, and the location is where?
Location is at SQ Collective. It's AI co-working tech hub in Singapore.
So, folks, if you're in Singapore or you're going to be in Singapore, you need to look this up. Um, I'm extremely excited to hear about the outcome and what the what's going to happen there and what new ideas have been pitched. I think it sounds fabulous. I may have to steal the idea once you tell me how to run it over here.
That's it. Yes, of course. I'll love to share more about it after the event. And yeah, maybe that's something you can run in America.
Yeah, let's see what happens. So, gaming. Any last
Mhm.
words on gaming or any last thoughts about gaming and how they impact people in real life?
Mhm.
Any last thoughts?
Uh, I will say maybe I'll just touch on how gaming could be useful or harmful depending on how you use it. Um, I am recently inspired by this lady, Dr. Rachel Coward, and she says that like its behavior is signal, and very often we feel if we feel great that we play games and it's a place that you can find community, and if you are using it to decrease your stress in your daily lives, then that is a healthy signal. But the other side can also be true, and I resonate with this in my earlier days where I use gaming as a way to avoid responsibility and to escape certain things. Then that kind of behavior is signaling something else. So knowing when and how to use games is a good place to start if you want to, understand what gaming is doing instead of staying away from the whole concept like gaming is bad or, you know, we play too much games, we need to be a certain way. So it's
Mhm.
just signals that is helpful or not helpful.
Uh,
And I guess to end off on that is that I think there is many different ways to know that something is true. So very often we look at like, you know, I might be going a bit deep here, but to
No,
kind of
go ahead. I think
yeah,
this is good.
but I think yeah, like there's so much ways to know that something is true and something that we can operate in life that like if we over attach ourselves to a certain belief or we over attach to an idea of that has to be true, that can only be true, then we are cutting ourselves from the rest of it. So there is about 8 ways of knowing. There's 8 ways of knowing, and it's I'll just list them. It's like language, reason, memory, imagination, intuition, faith, emotion, and sense perception.
Mm.
So we often get people who lean into faith a lot or lean into logic and reasoning a lot and block out everything else. But there are like when it comes to imagination, kids are the best at imagination. They can think of the world and understand the world and believe in something, and it gives them something back. And they think that that is true until they have to force to accept other ways of knowing. But you know like I said, you're cutting yourself from everything else if you just lean into something. And it's just a shame because there's wisdom in all these ways of knowing, and to be able to integrate them all into your life, I think that's the beauty way of playing around and
Yeah.
just to explore the world that way.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you have to watch out for those signals too,
Mm,
especially as a parent, maybe for younger children that are too involved in gaming or too involved in anything. It doesn't have to be gaming. It could be anything that
yeah.
takes their mind off of reality, you know? So,
Right. Think about sports. If you do too much sports, if do too much of a certain activity outside of what you're supposed to do or responsible for, there's so much things similar to gaming that can be immersive and addictive, and we just have to find some ways to balance it, understand why we are doing things, how we are doing it, and yeah, keep
I,
moving forward.
yeah, my takeaways today are watch it for the signals and have balance. I think that's a good way to look at things, not just
Yeah,
games, but everything. I think that's a good way. So,
yeah.
Alvin, this has been extremely eye-opening for me, and I know it'd be eye-opening for my audience as well. And I can't thank you enough for being here. Alvin is not only a good friend, but he's a professional dancer, he's a chef,
Oh yeah.
and he's a ghostwriter. So if you're looking for someone that has a way with words and has a way with helping you develop your voice, then you need to talk to Alvin. So Alvin, thank you so much for being here and
Thank
good
you,
luck with it.
Jen. Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
good luck with your idea fest, and I can't wait to hear all about it. After that's over with, we're going to have to come back on here and you're going to have to tell me everything.
Yes, let's do that. Yes.
That's great. So thanks a lot, and I'll be talking to you soon. This is What's Your IQ with Nancy Barbie. Let's talk about impact quotient, and we sure did. Bye, Alvin.
Bye.